Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, has arrived on Earth, and Mothra is going to have to convince Godzilla and Rodan to put aside their differences and battle this new super-powered beast. There's also a wild plot about royalty assassinations and aliens from Venus, so strap in, because it's time for more Godzilla. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
I come in peace.
This is a science fiction movie podcast, and we are back to the Godzilla franchise today with the fifth entry in the original Godzilla series, which is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. So we'll start spoiler-free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps out a bunch if you do. Give us 5 stars on your podcast app, and you can support us over at Patreon and get some bonuses, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. But yes, fifth one in, and the first one doesn't have Godzilla's name in the title, which is going to last for a little while now, actually. A lot of them are just kind of whatever's relevant to what's going on. Although, having said that, some of them do have like alternate international titles. I don't think this one does, but I know at least the next one and then several after that do, where there is like one territory had Godzilla versus the sea monster instead of Ibera Horror of the Deep, and so on and so on. So yeah,
this one, it looks like the international just dropped the O in Ghidorah, which is weird, but yeah, it's the same. Ghidra,
yes.
Yep. Why not?
But yeah, so I keep that in mind, but typically I'm going with the original titles here. But yeah, this is the big debut of arguably the most famous of the Godzilla enemies, Ghidorah, but it also stars Mothra and Rodan, so lots of monsters to enjoy this time around. Also, a princess is possessed by a being from Venus. There's your setup.
I'll just throw this out here, Pete. This one was silly. Just top to bottom, it was a silly movie. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, but this was a silly movie.
There's some silly qualities in there. I do not deny such a thing. Look, until we get Godzilla doing the drop kick slide with his tail, we're not at silly, like peak silly yet, right? We're still... You know, I think inherently, you've got guys in costumes fighting. I think there's an inherent level of silliness that goes along with that. Admittedly, this one gives you a few extra things like beings from Venus and so on and so forth. Yeah. But we'll get into all of that in a bit. But all right, let's just get out of the way. David, what did you think of Ghidorah, the three-headed monster?
This was silly. This was a silly movie. Quality-wise, though, I don't know. I'm of such two minds about it, because I think that when it comes down to the human stuff, it actually feels like a real movie. Like, it feels like we're almost back to those days of the original Godzilla, where like they do a lot of very like real shots, not just like feeling we're doing pickup shots the whole time. Like, we're doing actual cinematography here. It feels like we're actually fleshing out characters, doing a lot of work there. And then when we get to the monster fights, I will admit that the monster fight itself feels a little bit more thought out. At least the big one at the end does. It feels a little bit more choreographed. However, all of the fights leading up to that, especially the Godzilla versus Rodan one, feels like hand puppets. That might actually be the case, but it just feels like and nobody's actually landing any hits at all the entire time. So there's bigger upswings, but also much lower downswings compared to Mothra v Godzilla, the last one.
Okay, that's interesting. I like the movie quite a bit. I think part of it is just the mystique, and again, one of the things I liked about the last movie was that it expanded lore, specifically with Mothra in the last one. I like how much this one goes out of its way to try and sell Ghidorah as a big threat, with kind of hints to what he's done before, and the idea that someone's trying to warn us about him and all that, and just like, and I kind of like some of the silliness. I like kind of this, like, we don't even focus on Godzilla versus Rodan. We just kind of every so often cut back to them still having a pissing contest, and it's kind of funny how annoyed they are at each other. And I was kind of like, there's a sequence in this movie where they're just headbutting a rock back and forth to each other, and
I was losing my mind during that sequence. I'm like, it's still going. This isn't even rule of 3 anymore. This is rule of 30.
And it's gold. I love it. It's great. So, you know, I obviously I guess the funny thing is that it does wrap up quite quickly, and it kind of leaves it in a way where, like, yeah, we don't want to actually have any monsters be killed at the end. We want to have everything be open for potential future things. So it doesn't necessarily have like the most definitive ending in the world. But by and large, I like the additions to the mythology, and Ghidorah is just a cool monster. He looks cool. He breathes lightning. Like, all of that, I really appreciated that. And I think it's fun that in this movie, Godzilla's the only one who, like, don't get me wrong, there might be a person inside the Ghidorah costume, but there's a lot more going on. Like, there's the flying, there's the wings, there's 3 different heads that all have to be puppeteered. Godzilla's the only one where it's just a guy in a suit. All of the others have to be animatronics, puppets, and mixes of, you know, between all those things.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And I think it works for Ghidorah just because of the sheer like scale of him and how much is going on there. But I do think, Mothra's in larva form for pretty much the whole movie. When it comes to Rodan, like, I know it's intentional. It feels intentional. But Rodan feels like such a butt monkey here, where he's only here to be made fun of and just be like the butt of the joke.
Yeah, I mean...
I will actually say, I mentioned this last movie. I did go out of my way to watch the original Rodan before watching this one. I won't spoil too much of it. Suffice to say, you don't really need to know anything from Rodan.
I didn't
in the
think
original
so.
Rodan movie, there were actually 2 Rodans, and this is neither of them. This is a totally separate Rodan from those 2 other Rodans.
Their baby, maybe? No,
maybe there's no baby mentioned in the other film. It's just it's a Mothra situation where it's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's just here now.
Yeah, there's only one Mothra in this, despite there being 2 at the end of the last one, and they just kind of casually say, yeah, one died off.
Yeah,
don't ask
Survival
about
of the fittest. It ate its brother.
Moving on. Well, I think sister. I think they're always female Mothra. I could be
that's
wrong.
True. Yep,
but I think so. Someone went out to the park and lifted up their skirt to check.
Yeah. I can't tell. There's like 700 legs. Is one of those a boy part?
Yeah, I think the human plot is fun, and yeah, it's got some silliness to it, but there's like stuff going on. It's not just we're all going to react to the thing that's happening. There's some coincidental stuff where like there's like 3 main characters, all of whom know each other in some way, and yet they're all like tied to different parts of the plot that are going on. It's very coincidental that they all happen to know each other, and like all these things can converge. So there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of contrivance, but you know,
I like that bit though, because like it those little bits of contrivance are what makes it more fun. That everything does converge at a certain point. It makes it more like, oh, okay, cool. It felt like fate brought us all here together.
But there's a human plot to this, and like we spend a lot of the first half dealing with that plot. Yeah, it teases that stuff is coming. There's you know, like some meteors coming down, and you think, this is obviously building to the monster stuff. But no, like we do this plot where this princess is, you know, that someone's trying to assassinate her because she's going to inherit everything in this other country, and these assassins are hunting her, and one of our main characters is a cop who's going to be her bodyguard. There's obviously another wrinkle to what's going on with her, but I'll save that for spoilers. And then you've got the cop's sister who works for like this new TV show that's going to be doing basically supernatural and paranormal and weird stuff, and she's investigating things and from that angle. And then she happens to have went to college with a professor who's studying meteors and stuff like that, which are also involved in the plot. So they all kind of converge at a certain point, and we kind of see them interact somewhat.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's fun. I think, especially when we get that princess later on in the movie, as her character develops, I really like her as an actress in this. She's just got this extra little, like, extra energy to her that really is like, okay, this is what allows the humans to keep up with the monsters in terms of interest. Give them something like this to do. Yeah.
That said, though, there's a couple of blunders they make along the way, which I'll bring up. And when I say blunders, I'm not actually saying the writing's a blunder per se. I'm just saying that the characters make an absolutely obscene blunder at one point, where they just say on TV where someone is when they're on the run from assassins, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're the worst.
This stuff, they didn't realize it was live. They thought it would air like 3 hours later.
So yeah, but no, I think it's a fun movie. I think it goes in quite well. Like you check the time, you're like, oh, I'm almost an hour in. I didn't realize I'd already been watching it for that long, and you kind of realize, oh shit, it's moving at a quick pace. So yeah, as an introduction to Ghidorah, I think it works pretty well, and is kind of a first step towards the more heroic side of Godzilla. There's some interesting beats there, but we'll save that for spoilers, because that's all towards the end, that stuff.
It is, but I highly suggest people listening on that, because it is. This does feel like the turning point. This does feel like how they managed to justify Godzilla being the villain turning into Godzilla being the hero. Yes.
I do like that he's not just a hero when he first shows up in this. When he first shows up in this, he does destroy a boat full of people, and it's like, oh, he still started this movie doing his same old shtick. He's not like all of a sudden he's just good because the movie wants him to be good. There is a little bit of a plot there.
I thought that's how it was going to be. Like, as we were moving through this series, I thought that magically one movie was just going to be like, oh yeah, Godzilla, he's always been friends to the people. Like, I thought that was just going to happen because it would be easier. I'm happy to see that they took the effort to at least make a slight transition. We'll see how slow it is. I feel like next movie is just going to be like, yeah, Godzilla saved the world that one time, remember?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that layered or anything. It's a pretty simple thing, but it did something to actually change him, as opposed to just there he is, accept it. So that's worth something. So yeah, you've got obviously the main themes back from Godzilla. You got the theme that I don't know if it was always Rodan's theme, but I kind of think of it as Rodan's theme because it tends to play in this whenever Rodan's showing up or fighting Godzilla.
It definitely wasn't the theme from the original movie, so it was new to this one. But yeah, it did seem like it was Rodan's theme more than anything else. Yeah,
so and Ghidorah's got kind of his own main theme as well that kind of kicks in. So there's the themes that play. There's, I guess if there's critiques to be had, is most of the monster stuff doesn't take place in cities. There is a little bit of city action, don't get me wrong, but most of the fights all take place kind of in the countryside where they're far away from stuff, which makes some sense when some of the monsters aren't supposed to be bad guys anymore. It's not supposed to be about crushing as many buildings, so I kind of get it. But
I mean, yes, but at the same point, I think this movie, before they make a full face turn, is the one that you can get away with it the most. You can have them be like fighting in the city. Yes, they're fighting for our good, but if there's some collateral damage, whatever, they're not going to care that much.
Yeah. But I also like that Mothra is still in larva form in this, because like part of me expected on the very next movie, okay, the wings are come out and that's it. I'm like, oh no, they're playing like a reasonable long game. Like, even if it happens in the next movie, and I don't remember if it does, I don't even remember if Mothra's in the next one, but even if it happens in the next one, that's still longer than I expected them to go a whole extra movie in between where they're still in larva form. I'm actually impressed by that.
It's like, I'm surprised they did it just from a marketability standpoint. Like, to not be able to put big Mothra on there and instead just put the larva form. I'm not even sure. Yeah, larva form is like punted down to the bottom right of the poster. That being said, Rodan is also in the top left. It's mostly Ghidorah. That's all we're really trying to sell in this one.
Yeah. And hey, they came up with a new wild over-the-top design. 3 heads, 2 tails, big... I won't quite say bat wings, but like just big wings.
No, I'd say bat wings. Definitely more so than Rodan. Rodan's got the pterodactyl wings. This one is different enough feeling that it doesn't feel like it's just a copy paste.
Yeah, I mean, Rodan is basically just a big pterodactyl. I mean, that's basically
that's where Rodan comes from, the pterodactyl.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's maybe the spoiler-free review, unless there's something else you want to bring up.
No, I mean, it's if we're just reviewing specifically, I would say if you're a fan of Godzilla, this is definitely on the list. I don't think this is one that you could be like, oh, I don't really know if I want to watch this. No, you do. You want to watch this one. Even if it's not like you're only into the more serious ones, I still think it's worth seeing this one just to see where this sort of big monster crossover stuff really began. Because while it's always been monster fights, this is the first time where it feels like a real crossover sort of thing going on.
Continuity, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of things that are just important to the mythos if you care at all about the lineage of Godzilla. You know, like you say, it's his first turn to the side of light. It's got the progression with Mothra. It's got the first appearance of Ghidorah. All these things all add up to making it quite important before you even get to, is it any good or fun to watch? And it is good and it is fun to watch. So you add all that up and yeah, it's an easy recommendation if you like Godzilla movies and kaiju movies.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, yeah. All right, well, we'll give the spoiler warning so we can jump around and talk about whatever we wish. So, spoilers for Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. You have been warned. So, let's talk about Venus. And, so, you know what? I'm going to give them the slightest bit of credit here. Because when they first... So this princess is coming to Japan, and the powers that be, the people who want to control the country that she's left, have planted a bomb on her plane, right? But some voice talks to her on the plane and tells her to like step outside. Now, let's just ignore that cabin pressure's a thing and the temperature up there.
Yeah, whatever.
Ignore all those things,
fine.
right? This voice talks to her and it saves her life somehow. And she ends up, we find out, I mean, she shows up kind of randomly, but then we'll later find out that she landed in the water and a fisherman or something got her. But when we find her again, she's in the streets in completely different clothes. She doesn't remember that she's a princess. She claims she's from Venus, and she's telling everyone that the Earth is doomed. The Earth has got a death curse, to quote Ralph from Friday the 13th. And it's like, okay, this is interesting. And when she said she's from Venus, and she talks about how Venus is a wasteland, I was like, okay. The idea that life existed on Venus, just like Mars is the other one that often comes up, feels like a very dated concept because I feel like most people just know that's not possible.
Right.
To give them the slightest bit of credit, though, she does say that this happened thousands of years ago, and I'm like, okay. At least, I mean, it's still silly, don't get me wrong, but if it was thousands of years ago, we'd have no way of seeing the evidence that the Earth, that life was there. So, you know what? Fair enough. And the way she describes it, Venusians, is that how you pronounce? Yeah. They all had different abilities, and she says that when they all came to Earth, it wasn't a physical journey, it was like their spirits came to Earth, and they lost all of their powers except premonition, which is the one she still has, and that's why she's warning everyone.
Right. I also appreciate, like you said, thousands of years ago, but she also throws into the backstory that, like, it was a good planet. It was an actual, had life on it, and then Ghidorah. Like, the reason it is that it is today, this desolate wasteland, is because Ghidorah did what he did.
Which is a good way to sell Ghidorah as a monster. Like, no, the reason why Venus is a volcanic hellscape is because Ghidorah had his way with it. Is a pretty big way of saying he's bad news. He's going to ruin everything.
Obviously, in the more recent MonsterVerse, they say Ghidorah is from space. They don't label a planet. They just say space.
Well, to be fair, they don't say he's from Venus in this either. He just came to Venus.
That's fair. Yeah. True, fair enough. But I like that carryover where if you look at the stuff that he does in MonsterVerse with like the storms and all that sort of big weather stuff, it does feel very much like Venus sort of weather. It feels like, okay, we are carrying over this tiny little thing where it's total global shift of the entire biosphere. It's not just like, he's just a dick.
Yeah, and it really sells him as this big threat. And obviously, once you see him flying through the sky and just shooting laser, or not even lasers, lightning beams down to the ground, and it's just building just exploded. It's like, he doesn't even have to walk through them to do this. He just zaps them.
And also, when he first shows up, he flies past a building, and just his speed, just his general size flying past causes all the like shingles and stuff to fly off the top, so you get a sense of not only how big he is but also the speed of him, which that was actually a big thing in Rodan. Was his whole thing was supersonic flying, and anytime he flew over anything, it would just absolutely decimate the area.
Yeah, that's been his main gimmick, is that if he flaps his wings, he'll basically cause like hurricane-style winds and knock stuff over and all that.
But it equally brings Ghidorah onto the same playing field, and I think once he uses the lightning breath as well, you're like, oh, like Godzilla and his atomic breath. This guy is just able to do everything that the rest of them can do.
Yeah, and it's literally 3 heads, so we need 3 monsters to fight them, which, you know, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be true, but visually it makes like an instant, like, oh no, 3 versus 3 kind of mentality. Yep. So it works.
And I'm sure larva form Mothra is really going to pull its weight.
Hey, that weapon's pretty useful, to be honest. I mean, it's done a lot.
Look, every time we get into a fight scene with Mothra, even during the opening credits of this movie, take snapshots of the fight and like superimpose the text over top as if to give you like a teaser of what's coming up next. And they show Mothra grabbing onto the end of Ghidorah's tail, and all I could think was, that's not going to end well for you, Mothra. And then fast forward to the fight, and you see him just being whipped around like crazy, thrown onto the ground. I'm like, see, I told you.
He also grabs Godzilla's tail at one point, but just for like a lift, just to sort of get dragged along the ground, which he's
not as fast as Godzilla is, I guess.
Well, there's lots of little things I like that he climbs on, Mothra climbs on Rodan's back at one point, and like she gets a lift, so she's like a I don't know, like a jetpack, or not even a jetpack, but she's like firing webbing like from over Rodan's head at Ghidorah as Godzilla's doing his shit and trying to fight him more. And I love like the messiness of him like diving into Ghidorah, and like the 3 heads are all wriggling around and like trying to get around him. And
oh yeah, no, it obviously it just feels more so from these heads are tied up to wires coming down from the roof. Yeah. Like it's not anything of like, oh, we're trying to make it look like it's messy. No, it is messy. We're just taking advantage of it.
Absolutely. And it's fun stuff. There's, I mean, in terms of like the actual fight, we mentioned the Rodan and Godzilla fight. I do actually love the first moment where they see each other, where Godzilla just hears it and looks up at the clouds, and you don't see it for like a good like 10, 20, 30 seconds even. And then eventually you see Rodan like flying amongst the clouds, and the Godzilla's like just following him with his head, and you're like, oh, this is like, it's like, oh, it's on. Like they're getting ready to throw down.
I appreciate the sentiment of the scene, but again, everything is framed like right up to the neck and up. So it's so obviously just like hand puppets that are of such significant lower quality than the actual rest of the suits and like the bigger scale models that I couldn't get past that. I was just like, God, this looks so amateurish the whole time.
I didn't have that problem, but I enjoyed the build up of it, and then at first it's a little disappointing because it kind of cuts away before they start fighting, but then you realize that we're going to keep cutting back to them just continuously fighting for the next like 20 minutes as other things are going on. And I like the running gag of that almost, of like just cut back to them and they're just being pissy. And there's like a moment where oh god, what was it? It made me laugh because Rodan laughed at Godzilla when he got hurt, and maybe it was when Mothra finally showed up, I can't remember, but something happens to Godzilla where Rodan just sort of starts cackling.
And it's when Mothra shows up, they're in the middle of their headbutting a rock back and forth thing, and then Mothra webs Godzilla, and
that's right.
Rodan starts laughing at him, and then he also gets webbed, and Godzilla starts laughing at him.
And I'm like, oh, there's personality here, and it's just because the whole thing here is that the twins are back in this movie, and like they're asking them for help, and like, what do we do? And like, by the time we get to the point where Ghidorah's been mentioned, and that Ghidorah's already here, and then of course we see him hatch from his meteor kind of landing and forms and all that. Like there's a whole meeting and people talk about it, and the twins are like, we don't think Mothra can take on Ghidorah on her own. We just don't think it's possible. But there is hope, and they're like, what's the hope? Well, if Mothra, Godzilla, and Rodan all unite, maybe there's a chance. And like, but how the hell do we ask them to do that? And they're like, oh, Mothra can ask. So they sing their song, they get in Mothra, and you talked about the webbing when she first interrupts their tiff. But we get like a full-on scene where the twins just start translating Mothra having a conversation with Godzilla and Rodan. And I actually love this scene because I think up until now it's been kind of debatable exactly just how intelligent is Godzilla, right? Is Godzilla full-on human or even surpassing human intelligence, and he's stomping us out of either malice, out of revenge, a sense of justice even, or is he a big animal who's just rampaging around because he doesn't know any better? Like, because he can still have his reactions that he does, he can still be annoyed, he can still get upset and stuff like that, but to what level is he intelligent? And there's something so fascinating to me about Mothra explaining, oh, we have to team up because this is our planet too, and we have to help the humans. And Godzilla's response, according to the translation, is, I don't want to. It's none of our business, and those humans always bully me.
That was the bit that got me, was the humans always bully me, because, like, yeah, like we do. That is part of what we do. We keep on setting up those things. But it's interesting that Godzilla sees himself at no fault. Where he's like, I did nothing to intimidate or scare them, and look at what they did to me.
He's like, I'm the victim here. Why should I help?
There's a shot. It's both him and Rodan when Mothra's making the case, and the actors in the suits, I'm pretty sure they actually have like their arms crossed and they're like looking away, like they're just like, Mom, making me go out and help the humans.
I like this idea that they're going to have both Rodan and Godzilla not just immediately sort of see it as a good idea, not be convinced by just words, and they say, nah, we're not helping, we're not interested in helping. And then it actually means a little bit more when Mothra's like, okay, I'm going to have to go and try and fight Ghidorah myself then. And that inspires them to be like, okay, we need to step in. We can't let Mothra just, get killed.
I mean, if you cast this with human actors, all I picture is like two dudes in their 30s fighting each other. And then like the 8-year-old little sister character comes in and says, guys, stop fighting. We got to do this other thing. And then when she goes off to do the main quest alone and starts getting hit, they're just like, little sister, we got to go protect her.
Yeah. We get Godzilla getting thrown through a bridge. We get a aerial duel between Ghidorah and Rodan where they fly towards each other. That's kind of a fun little moment. And, just all the shenanigans.
I several times throughout, I'm not sure if he actually used it in the Ghidorah fight, but he did in the Rodan fight, is the atomic breath.
Yes.
It feels like that got a downgrade where that's now like option number 4, and options number 1, 2, and 3 are kick, throw, and punch rocks. That seems to be the big thing Godzilla does nowadays.
Yeah, that's fair. And obviously earlier on we also saw Rodan grab his tail and drag him around. He actually picked him up and flew him.
Oh yeah,
at one point.
Godzilla in the first half of this movie is a chump. Like Rodan is kicking his ass.
I mean, you say first half. What you actually mean is after the end of the first half, because Godzilla doesn't show up in this movie until like 45 minutes in.
For me, the halfway mark is the moment that they are fighting the assassins in the lab with the Venusian princess lady. That's the half. I'm sure that's actually like 3/4, but that's the halfway point.
Yeah, that's like an hour and 15 minutes into this 90-minute movie. Yep. That's wildly late. We'll get on to all the human stuff in a minute, but just to wrap up the monsters here, ultimately Godzilla fights Ghidorah while Mothra webs from the back of Rodan and gets webbed up enough that he accepts defeat and flies off into the distance.
Look, the movie treats it as a victory. They're all standing on the cliffside watching Ghidorah fly away. I'm willing to accept that it's a victory, but if I were one of the human characters, I would absolutely not accept that as a victory because they are still going to have their world destroyed because Ghidorah is just going to fly off, remove the webbing, and then destroy some other part of Tokyo.
Well, they treat it as a win, and for now we have to accept it as a win. But I agree. Him just flying off feels a little bit like undefinitive. Like maybe.
I mean, spoiler wise, I looked at the next movie, Invasion of the Astro Monster, and there's a lot of carryover between cast of monsters here. So I wonder if this was already kind of in the can before they were like, all right, let's end this movie in a way that's going to make that next movie a little bit easier to explain. Yeah,
they were thinking in serialized terms as opposed to like single movies, which maybe means that it doesn't feel like the end of a movie in quite the same way that it should. But the fight's fun though, and Ghidorah's got all this weight that he brings with him, which is nice. And
no, I think that ending fight, the 4-way cross fight between all of them, is great. I have almost like no notes on that entire sequence.
It also has the most like purpose of any fight we've had yet in this franchise, because all three of them are united. They're working together for a common enemy. Like, I don't think any of the... I mean, the two Mothras last time had this a little bit against Godzilla, but I feel like this is the full realized version of it, is that no, there's this threat, we have to all work together, and we're effectively the superheroes of this world, so we're going to have to do it.
No, and that's the thing, is that before with the Mothras against Godzilla, there was still this underlying thing of, okay, but we're still kind of rooting for Godzilla. Like, we still kind of have this low-level, Godzilla's cool and we want him to win. Here, they have them all on the same side against this big villain character who is undenounceably evil. He absolutely is going to destroy the planet. So it makes it super easy to get the stakes, get us all on the same side, and make it feel like a worthwhile fight.
Yeah, and Ghidorah is cool as well, but he's cool in a clearly villainous way, where, like, you know, the same way that you think Darth Vader or you know, Joker's cool.
I was gonna say as the heads were flailing around, I really like paused to look at Ghidorah's face. Each of the faces looked like it had this just shit-eating grin on it as they were causing chaos, and I was like, this feels very Joker to me. This feels very much like he's causing chaos for the sake of chaos, not for anything else.
I mean, I don't know when this becomes more a part of it, but this idea that each head has its own personality and they sometimes fight with each other. Like, none of that was in this one, but you can kind of see how we get there at a certain point.
Oh, yeah. That's just good character writing.
Yeah, but no, it's fun stuff. So yeah, honestly, with the monster stuff, I really have very little to complain about. Good time. I mean, obviously, the complaint is always a bit more of it would be lovely, but you know, it's that's what makes it special.
For me, I would just rather some definitive ending to the fight, more so than Mothra webs Ghidorah, and we get like 4 shots of Godzilla hitting it in the ass with a bunch of rocks, and that's it. Like, that's what the end of the movie is, and it just feels we could have gotten a little more there.
I think maybe now you're starting to get a sense of like how some of these fights are going to end in this era, because we're still kind of in this, you know, relatively primitive way of doing it. This is, you know, a good 30 years before Jurassic Park even at this point, so we're in kind of the Stone Age as far as like visual effects go, but
but like, again, I really like the choreography of the fight. I think that works out fine. I think they just need to learn how to put a stamp on it. They just need to be able to end it in a way that's like, yep, that's it. That's what makes the fight great.
Well, maybe we'll find out in Invasion of the Astro Monster if they up the game a little bit in that respect.
Yeah, here's open.
Or Godzilla versus Monster Zero is the other title. Now,
yes,
I won't say who Monster Zero is, because I want to spoil
or
it.
The Astro Monster for this.
Or the Astro Monster, yes. Which I guess is the same thing. Yeah, the Astro Monster.
Probably, yeah.
But, well, the reason why I say that, though, because Monster Zero was a phrase that was used again in other movies.
If we're treating that as a spoiler, I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah.
I figure you do. Yeah. But, no. We definitely do more wacky human stuff next time. So,
that's good.
I'm looking forward to that. But hey, obviously, we've got a whole other side to this movie we've not really talked about, and that's the human side of things, and the assassins, and their repeat. And this really does make the human stuff fun, is that we've got an assassination plot happening mixed in between all this stuff going on, where it's like, you know, like, okay, this woman claims to be from Venus, all right? You were supposed to be her bodyguard. She's supposed to be dead, but you see her photo in the newspaper because she claims to be from Venus and is saying that the Earth is doomed. Oh, you're...
and she accurately predicts that Rodan is going to show up. Like, that's the thing that everyone's like, oh, you're actually psychic. That's crazy.
And the sister finds her next time she shows up to warn people, and she warns people that are going into the boat that's eventually going to be attacked by Godzilla. So she's warning of another tragedy.
Just real quick with that boat attack scene.
Yeah.
It was a little bit dark. I couldn't entirely make it out. But, like, was Godzilla chasing a pod of whales?
Oh, I don't know if I noticed that.
They show the boat, and then I swear to God, they showed like a bunch of whales that were like running towards the boat, but because of that, away from Godzilla. And then they cut over to Godzilla, and I feel like he was just attacking the whales more than anything else.
Maybe you could read it as he was going towards the boat, and the whales happened to be in between, so they were like, "Shit, we need to run. That's Godzilla."
Yeah, maybe. He's like, "Oh, get out of here! We're trying to protect you. The whales save you."
But I mean, yeah, he just fires his breath at the boat, and the entire boat bursts out of flames. So you know, they dead.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Also, sorry to keep jumping back, but at the beginning of the movie, when the plane blows up,
yes,
this might be my own thing. I was under the impression that because it was flying during the meteor shower, it exploded because a meteor collided with it, not that there was a bomb on the plane.
No, they said there was a bomb. Like they
said there was a bomb? I must have just missed that.
Yeah, because we get a scene where, like, I don't know what the title of the dude is, but the guy who's going to be in charge if she dies is like, is it all set? Sunglasses assassin man? He's like, yes, the bomb is planted as we said we would, blah, blah. And then they're mad when she turns up alive. So I thought you said the plane exploded. Like, it did, but here she is. Go to Japan and find out if it's her. And if it is her, then kill her, obviously.
And that was, God, that's the dumbest thing in this entire... During the first bit, when we're still trying to figure out, is this her? Every character comes to the point of, well, if it is her, she must be wearing her royal bracelet, because that's something that she always has on her. And even at that point, I'm thinking, she can't take off the royal bracelet if people are out to kill her? I feel like that's the first thing she would do to try to hide.
Yeah, what got me about this is that, okay, you're using that as a signifier to say it's not her, or to give doubt that it isn't her, right? Fine. Later on, though, it kind of felt like the assassin was like, where's the royal bracelet? As if it was important to the bad guys to find it. And I never got the sense that they cared about it before that point. But because if the bomb in the plane succeeded, they would never get it. It would just be in an ocean somewhere.
No, I think he was treating it as like verification. He was like, look, I don't see the fear in your eyes when I showed up. And there should have been that because you know me and you know I'm an assassin for whatever. So I'm not convinced that you're the same person because you didn't recognize me. But if you have the bracelet on you, then you are you. But again, even she realized, oh, I can take this off. And she took it off, sold it to some guy for a change of clothes, and then went on her way trying to be a prophet.
Yes. I read it as like, I don't know if she just necessarily felt fear immediately, because I kind of read it as like this was someone who worked in like the palace, right? Who she probably maybe didn't trust on a personal level, but was supposed to be working for her. But there's all this like shady, corrupt, like we need to take her out.
The Jafar.
Yeah, the Jafar. Yeah, there you go. So maybe she would put two and two together. She'd be like, hey, you must have been the one who did this because you're a scheming person or whatever. But but that really matters in the grand scheme of things. It was just the way I was reading it, is that, oh, this is someone who's betrayed her as opposed to someone who's just known as an assassin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. It makes sense. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make a difference because she has full amnesia. She doesn't know anything. So whatever.
It does not matter one ounce, because ultimately the sister character, Naoko, finds her when she's on the boat and is like, hey, you can come with me. And she takes her to this hotel where like her TV studio always takes guests or something that they want to put up somewhere for interviews or things like that, and takes them up to a room and basically tries to convince her, hey, I can broadcast you and you can tell everyone in the country like what your warnings are. You don't have to actually go anywhere. And she's trying to like arrange things, but when her brother shows up, and he's also investigating her because, he was supposed to protect her, and then she turned up dead, but then she's turned up alive again. He's like, wait, you've got the Venus lady upstairs? I'm going up there. And she's like, no, you're not. This is my find. And he's like, I will arrest you, sister. Let me up there.
I like their sibling bickering at the beginning of the movie, if only just to get to this point here where they come to the understanding of, okay, no, we got to work together. We're on the same side here.
Yeah, no, I liked it because you don't know they're related to each other, because they both get introduced separately. And then he's coming home and he sees her getting out of a car, and it's like the professor's dropping her off, and he's making jokes about, oh, is that your boyfriend? And I'm like, oh, so you two aren't a thing. You two are like, related or something, because like you're cracking jokes about her having a love life. And then you see them basically start like hitting each other in front of their mother, and she's like, oh, grow up, you two, act your age. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this is amusing.
That's the thing. It very quickly changed throughout that scene where it was, he saw her getting out of a guy's car, and I'm like, oh, the guy who wants to be the boyfriend is seeing that she's with someone else. And then when he comes in and starts teasing her about it, I'm like, okay, maybe he doesn't actually want to be the boyfriend. Maybe they are just like friends. Maybe they are just cool with each other. And then the hitting happens. I'm like, oh no, they're siblings. All right, got it.
I think it felt a little refreshing, because like the first thing you said is the most like what most things would do, is they'd have like a will they won't they, and someone who's like secretly jealous because they're in love. And it just felt refreshing to not do that at all, this movie.
Oh yeah. No, there's no, Is there any romance in this movie, like, at all?
I mean, he jokes that her professor might be her new boyfriend, and like she jokes about it a little bit later on, but it never becomes a plot where the professor asks her out, or they even have like a moment where they have an awkward bit of tension or chemistry or anything like that. It never becomes
where, like,
that.
she gets into danger and the professor jumps in and is just like, "I'll defend you." Like, nope.
No, it feels very platonic and just everyone's just nice to each other.
Yep. Also, for anyone who didn't tune in for the Mothra review, just to also inform, because we've kind of glossed over it, Mothra's two little fairy-sized sister...
The twins, yes.
Ambassadors, whatever you want to call them, they're just palling around this whole time. They're just here.
Well, they're here at first because they've went on a TV show that the two sibling characters, their mum likes watching, and it's these two presenters who bring out kids, and it's basically like a Make-A-Wish type thing, but not for sick kids, but more just for like, come on the TV show and we'll
just for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah, and like, we want to meet Mothra, and like, oh, that's a tall order. We have the little twins, you know who they are, and they come out and they're talking to them and they sing a song and like, close your eyes, you'll see Mothra as we sing to Mothra, and it's like a whole little bit. But that's why they're in the country at first.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that this TV show was like, well, we can't get Mothra, but we can go to the island and get these two little fairy ambassadors and get them to sing their song on television.
We can go to Infinite Island and get these two, and like, what are they going to do? Fight us? They're tiny.
I was going to say, because obviously, after all the previous times we've seen them across Mothra and Mothra versus Godzilla, they're very trusting of the media networks and not being exploited.
Yep, that's a very, very good point. Although, at the very least, I have to imagine Japan's attitude towards Mothra is pretty positive after the last movie.
No, that's one of the things I like most about this movie is that every other movie, it wasn't a full reset. Obviously, everyone had the knowledge of Godzilla, but it always felt like it was not something anyone actually like cared about.
It was very, you'll know this very well because you're a comic book reader, but it was very kind of like comic book continuity where you get, you're 10 years later, how much of that stuff from before 10 years ago is still valid? It's whatever they want to reference, really, but you can't assume it's all valid anymore either.
Right. But then you get the bit in this movie where she says, oh, Rodan's going to come out of that volcano. And they're like, Rodan? Oh, Rodan's coming again. And it's like, okay, they're making a direct reference to something that nobody in the Godzilla universe should know because it's not crossed over with Godzilla, but it's part of the larger Toho family. And it's cool to see that this is all brought in together here. And it's treated as, no, this has all been happening within the same universe and everyone remembers it happening.
Yeah, so our first assassination attempt is Sunglasses and his little group come up to the hotel and try and, well, they do grab her and try and interrogate her for a bit, and they're actually going to just kill her just to be on the safe side. Like, well, I'm not completely convinced, but but we'll just kill her.
What's two murders over one murder? Whatever. And they even do the bit to like really sell he's evil. He's like, this is the knife I used to kill your father, and now I'll kill you with it as well.
But then that's just when the brother and sister are coming back in the room, so we get a bit of a shootout, and the bad guys like get away here kind of miraculously, actually, where they just kind of run away, but they're they go out the window, I think.
Well, I feel like they're somewhat lucky because as this is happening outside, we have moving into town the Rodan versus Godzilla fight.
Right. Yeah.
There's kind of other things going on at the moment.
But they all get away, and then that leads to, first of all, it leads to them all going to give advice on what they do about all these warnings that are happening, because Ghidorah shows up pretty soon after this. But the big thing with the princess / Venus lady is they go to a research facility to a scientist to try and figure out if she's really from Venus or if she's psychotic or whatever's going on with her. Very famous Japanese actor here playing this role.
Takashi Shimura, who was in the original Godzilla movie.
As well as numerous Kurosawa movies and various other things. He's not the only guy from the original Godzilla either. One of the chief detective, Okita, so I'm assuming that was the boss of the brother character. He's the scientist from the original movie. Okay.
I'll take your word for it, sure. But the only thing I was double checking on with the original one, because he was a scientist in the other one as well, not the chief detective, but the professor character.
Yeah, he was
the
main dude who was investigating everything.
Right.
No, the scientist I'm talking about is the one who built the water thing.
Yeah, with the eye patch.
The eye patch. Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
his photo. That's why I could tell on IMDb.
Right. But no, I double checked to make sure, like, this isn't supposed to be like the same character, right? Like in Godzilla lore, this is meant to be someone else. It is. So, yeah.
No, because in the original Godzilla, he's Dr. Serizawa, and I remember that name because that name actually has some sticking power, whereas most characters in most Godzilla movies don't have sticking power.
True. Yeah.
Oh, wait, I tell a lie. I tell a lie. I patched it as Dr. Serizawa. Sorry, I'm mixing them up. I patched it as Serizawa in the original, yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, you're right. Daisuke Zerawa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it still could have been him, but it wasn't. It was a completely separate guy.
I didn't think it would be. I feel like they're going to be rotating actors in and out of roles all over the place in this.
Especially, that's the thing. Like, you're saying, like, he's been in Kurosawa films and he's been in some of these Godzilla films. And yes, he has been. But, like, I clicked into his Wikipedia page and I had to scroll for God knows how long to get through this man's filmography. He has so many.
He was a working man, but no, he's in Seven Samurai, he's in Ikaru, he's in, like, I recognized him immediately. I was like, oh, I know this face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it just kind of killed. But anyway, they're doing a bunch of tests on her, and she claims Ghidorah's coming. This is when that first comes up, and then Ghidorah, finally pops up out of the meteor and all that. I love the second assassination attempt, which, again, comes after they say on TV, they're like, hey, Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, we need to do this, and this, and like, where's this woman now that claims all this? Oh, she's at this lab on Mount Fuji. Why are you telling them that?
And her social security number is 555.
And I shit you not, it cuts immediately to the assassin sitting in the diner, and he's like, all right, let's go and get her. Like, yeah, there you go, they've got it.
Which is even weirder, though, when you think about it, because they announce it on the TV, like, station. The guy is there, the cop is there helping present, like, the fairies.
Yes.
And he's saying, like, oh, here, we gotta get him off or whatever.
No, I don't think he is. I think it's the meteor professor that's with the sister with the fairies.
Oh,
and the cop's back at the lab still. Because I think the cop would have been smart enough not to say that. To be fair to him. Right? Yeah,
fair enough. All right, yeah, that was just me mistaking the actor then, because it was a thing of, like, how did he get there so fast? How did he manage to get back over there?
Yeah, because as much as I said there's three main characters, that was a bit of a lie. It's really just the brother and sister and the princess are the three main characters. The meteor guy, he's important plot-wise, but he definitely has the least screen time of, like, any of the human, like, main characters, so...
he's there specifically so that someone can watch Ghidorah get born and then come into town and say, hey, everyone, Ghidorah's born.
Ring the alarms, it's time. I love that the second assassination attempt, though, when they sneak into the building, is they basically find out that the scientist and the cop are about to do, like, electroshock therapy on the princess, and they just sneak into the control room for the electricity, and they're just like, turn it up. Just turn it up. It's maybe at 500, turn it up to 3000, and they just turn the dial up, and I'm like, part of me wants to see what happened, because I've seen this before, but I didn't really remember how this wrapped up, and I was like, oh, does her Venus powers just kind of, like, save her, or something?
No, it's much dumber than that.
Oh, yeah. This is when Rodan is picked up Godzilla from the back, and Godzilla's kicking around, and he's flying him over, and he just happens to drop him on the power lines in the area, and all the power goes out right before the zappers, so no zapping happens.
Again, it's one of those things, it feels like fate. It feels like everybody was brought together for a very specific reason to take out Ghidorah.
Yeah, another crappy shout. The assassin's men all get killed, though, during the big Ghidorah chaos, because there's a big rock slide and their car gets damaged, and all of them die except the main one with the sunglasses.
And, I vaguely... Was that King Kong versus Godzilla? I can't remember which one it was, but it just harkened back to that of, like, yeah, the human just gets caught up in all the chaos of whatever's going on, and we just let him die because of it.
I mean, I think it's happened in a couple of different ways, depending on which part you're meaning. Because Mothra versus Godzilla definitely had, like, the greedy executives getting destroyed in the building.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the villain was. It was, like, the newspaper owner guy. I think that was the King Kong versus Godzilla one. But yeah, no, I appreciate the idea that they do just kind of get caught up in the rock slide. But I also really like the fact that we do get a final standoff as well.
Oh, yeah.
Where we have this guy with a sniper rifle. And at this point, it doesn't even feel like he needs to kill the princess. It feels like there's a 4-way monster fight going on in the background. Your boss would understand if you took the day off, but he's doing this out of spite. He's doing this out of, I hate her so much.
Yeah, we get kind of like a standoff where like the cop and the princess are like on the kind of a cliff edge, but they're down like a level, so they're kind of on their own, and he's on like a sort of opposite sides of like a ravine, and he's taking shots at them. The cop gets shot a couple times, like the arm and the hand and stuff. The princess gets like a bullet graze, which actually seemingly knocks out the Venus possessed like entity, and she becomes the princess again, and she's like, where am I? Why is that man I know shooting at me? What's going on? And then it's like, okay, it's interesting this Venus entity kind of went in and then left, and I don't know if like, they've just been like floating around in Earth for thousands of years, so they just sort of take control of people whenever they like need to do something. I don't know what's going on there, but
I'm like 70% sure that that's the theology behind Scientology. Like I'm it seems like there's enough different to keep it distinct, but that's like super close to how I understand it.
Oh, interesting. Hey, if they start saying Ghidorah's going to show up, maybe I'll start listening to them.
Oh yeah, Xenu and Ghidorah, the next crossover in the MCU.
Xenu will return in Avengers Doomsday.
I would love it. Are you kidding me?
Anyway, once again, though, it's the damage, like all the rocks come crashing down on the bad guy because of the fight that's happening, and he goes off. I did laugh though, because he kind of catches a big rock as he flies off the edge, and that made me laugh. It was kind of just made it more comical than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah, crushed his windpipe or something like that. He was just like, oh god.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Literally goes from that to the monster fight. The monster fight wraps up, and then the humans are just at like a press conference where the princess is like, yeah, I don't remember anything except the fact that cop saved me like 4 times.
Yeah, and she comes over and thanks him, and he's like, but you remember me saving you at the hotel and at you at the lab and stuff? And she's like, I don't really remember anything else, but I remember that. And I'm like, dude, I think you have to accept this princess is in love with you now, because you've saved her life several times, and that's okay.
If it wasn't for the fact that they were quite literally in the middle of like a press interview sort of thing going on, I just imagine him being like, so we're still in a hotel.
I just, it feels like she's looking at him with awe, but they all wave goodbye. She flies off, and I love the choice to mirror this by cutting to the monsters, and Rodan and Godzilla are on a cliff, basically just waving goodbye to Mothra and the twins as Mothra swims them back to Infant Island.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for, like, we see the shot of Mothra and the twins on the back in the ocean, and I was kind of wanting it to pull back the shot so that we could see like Godzilla and Rodan in frame together, and then Godzilla just punches Rodan in the back of the head, because I feel like that's exactly how it would end. As soon as Mothra's gone, it's like, all right, let's get back to it.
But basically you want that moment from Avengers where Hulk punches Thor.
Yes,
that's what you want.
It's just, I want it like literally the 3 frames before the end comes up, and nothing else.
Cut to black, just smack. Yep. Cut to black. Oh, the fight continues evermore.
Exactly.
I mean, you can make parallels between the brother and sister fighting, and the mum saying, "Hey, like, act your age," to Mothra telling Godzilla and Rodan to, like, hey, quit it. Let's act like adult monsters.
Yeah, no, look, there's parallels here, but the movie is not interested in making them deep. It's very surface level, and it's very much of like, yeah, all right, but you're here for the monster fights.
I don't think it needs to be deep though, right? I think surface level is all you need for the sake of that. Oh
yeah.
But ultimately, Ghidorah's cool as shit, big threat, and the idea they say the Venus used to be like Earth, but Ghidorah turned it into Venus thousands of years ago, is such a badass way to try and make him a threat. I'm kind of into it.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say, and this isn't against this movie, this is against the planners of the franchise, whoever is the one who's looking at this over top, is in my mild research of the era as a whole. I didn't look too deep in anything. I don't know like plot points, but I know gist of things. And that is, we do get recurring aliens across this franchise, and the fact that the recurring aliens are not always Venusians feels like a misstep. Like, you set them up, you could have just rolled with it.
See, here's the thing, though. From what I remember, aliens that we get later are villains, and they're very different. They're not like beings that go into people like the character in this one does. So, at least from what I remember, it makes sense they're from a different place.
All right. I mean, fair enough, but I still think that you could have made it Venusians. You could have just said like, oh yeah, they were an off splinter group that like went and possessed Martians or whatever.
Yeah, but again, there's context here that I think is going to make it clear why.
I'm sure it'll be different enough that it makes sense that it's not Venusians, but it does feel weird to me that we set up an alien race and then we have to have another one to be the villains later on.
Well, because they're much further away and they're responsible for things that wouldn't make sense for the Venusians to be responsible for. Right. I'm not defending it like it's this ironclad thing, but like it does make sense why it's not them. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, no, that's fair. Fair enough.
So we'll get to that. Like, I mean, is Star Trek only supposed to have one alien race?
Yes, absolutely. Klingons and nothing else.
Oh, no Spock then, no Vulcans.
No,
okay,
no, he's just a guy with an ear deformity.
no Romulans. No Ferengi.
You can have Borg, but that's only because Borg are techno.
Well, yeah, they're not an alien race. They're just something else entirely. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. No Cardassians, no Bajorans.
I hate the Kardashians.
Everyone makes that joke now. When everyone makes up the joke, they should do a spin-off called Keeping Up with the Cardassians and just set it on Cardassia. All right, David, what are you rating Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, out of 10?
Oh. You know, I think I came into this one a lot lower, but just talking about it, I had a good time. It was silly, but it was fun silly. Yeah, because it's. I think I needed to be reminded, especially after watching Rodan immediately beforehand, which was like 10 years before this movie came out, that there are still learning curves. You know, there are still like we're still figuring out what the formula is. I can't go into this expecting it to know all the tropes, and for going at this the first time of having A, Godzilla in a heroic role, but B, all these monsters teaming up against another monster rather than just being a 1v1 fight, I think they did a really good job at this. So, yeah, I'm going to say this one. Do I like it more than Mothra versus Godzilla? I'll give it the 7.5. Equal score with Mothra Godzilla. I think I'd still put Mothra versus Godzilla a little above for me, but that's just because there were like a couple of those shots that like really worked, where this movie I don't think had those shots, you know?
Sure. I do like it more than Mothra versus Godzilla, at least a little bit. So for me, I'm definitely going up. I think I give that a 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm at least going to a 7.5 as well. I could be tempted to go to the 8. I could be tempted. It feels a little bit like it feels like if I give it an 8, I'm giving it an 8 in relation to the Godzilla franchise. It feels maybe a bit high in relation to movies as a whole.
Right.
So that's a bit of a weird distinction there, where I'm like, oh yeah, for us, this is an 8 out of 10, 4-star Godzilla movie, excellent stuff. But if I'm comparing it to cinema as a whole, it feels a little bit like, you know, it's a bit silly. It's, you know, it's an acquired taste. It's all these things.
Look, Pete, we all know that you base these ratings off of what you want to give it on the Letterboxd. So what is it on the Letterboxd, and work backwards?
It's a good point. Do I want to give it the 3.5 stars or the 4 stars on the Letterboxd? Yeah, I'll give it an 8. Give it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for Ghidorah. That's 2.677 per head. Yeah, I think. As close as you can get. I mean, it's kind of infinite when you're dividing by 3.
2.6666666 forever.
Yes. Yeah, give or take. So that's the rating for that. Next week on the Atomic Cinema Experiment, we go to one of the most anticipated modern classics we have yet to do on this show. The excitement is off the charts. Call your mothers. Tell them that it's finally happening. We're going to be reviewing Mercy, starring Chris Pratt. Pete, I think I'm going to be sick for the next 3 months. I'm going to have to do anything else. It looks like absolute garbage, be here for the fireworks. You won't want to miss it.
This was going to just a peek behind, audience. This was going to be a theater release, and then we realized, wait, hold on, we're not masochists.
Yeah, basically, there was I don't know if I saw a trailer and was like, you know what? I don't want to pay theater money to see that. Yeah. I want to wait until it is much cheaper, if not free.
I got it before a trailer for something. I can't remember what, but sitting down, I'm like, oh no, I remember this is on the schedule.
Well, hey, last year he gave us Electric State. This year we get Mercy. Who knows what delights Chris Pratt-san will give us next year.
Don't forget, this year also included the Super Mario Brothers sequel, which only did numbers.
Yes, but yeah, we don't have to worry about that though.
No.
Yeah, I know we did the first one in Collector's Cut, but no one cared about us doing that, so we didn't have to do the second one, so we just ignored it, so it's fine.
Yeah, video game season may not have been well advised when our number one season is 70s thrillers.
Well, actually, video game season did okay. It was just that episode did worse than all the other ones.
That's the whole reason we did the season, though.
I know.
That one was coming out.
But the live-action Mario Brothers did well. People liked us talking about that one.
See, that one feels more in line with 70s thrillers, though. That one's closer.
Oh, because Dennis Hopper's in it?
Exactly.
Oh, dear. Anyway, that's that. That's coming next week. So, yeah, check out Collector's Cut. We're about to start a new season over there next week on Collector's Cut. We're doing John Woo Hong Kong action movies. So most of his Hong Kong movies, I wouldn't say all, and there's probably a couple of weird obscure ones that we're not doing, but all of his major Hong Kong action movies we'll be doing in a 7-movie season. So look forward to that and check that out next week. And that's our other movie show that we do is Collector's Cut. So yeah, otherwise though, you can support us over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. It really does help out and keeps everything possible. Thanks to everyone who already does. And if you do decide to go over there and support us, you get access to the ratings rundown segments we do for each episode of Ace and Collector's Cut. And every month we do a bonus show called Extra Reels where we review some of the worst movies ever made. So if that sounds like fun, you can check out that and help keep all the shows coming. But that is us. David doesn't do homework on Godzilla episodes, he decided.
I did do Rodan. I mean, that's kind of...
I guess you kind of did in this case, but it's not a segment at the end, like the other usual weeks. So you'll have to come back and find out what he does. Like, what other terrible movie will he double bill with Mercy? That's up to him, but we'll find out.
Have you guys done any other Chris Pratt movies? Should I just really sacrifice myself
Tomorrow
here?
War. Have you done Tomorrow War yet?
Oh, have I done Tomorrow? I have already done Tomorrow War.
Okay, well, there you go.
Whew. All right.
Don't worry. We still have to do Passengers. That's not happened yet. You've got that to look forward to in the future.
See, that's one of those movies that, like, I've been completely spoiled because of YouTube shorts. So, like, it's not even going to be enjoyable of finding out what happens.
It's actually quite... Look at the legacy. Passengers, Tomorrow War, Electric State, and now, presumably, once we've watched it, Mercy. That is like a... Look at that slate of bad sci-fi movies he's given us.
But he was in Guardians, which made $1 trillion. So
I'm just saying, this track record from about 2018 onwards for sci-fi movies is absolutely diabolically bad. It's insane. Anyway, that's the show, everyone. That's been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer and salsa.